What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are in the 2023 BMW G87 Generation M2. This one's got the 6-speed manual transmission, gotta love that. The exterior color is Zandvoort blue, it really pops. This car has a starting MSRP of around $63,000, but this one with the $9,900 carbon package, which gives us interior carbon trim, the super aggressive carbon bucket seats, as well as a carbon roof with destination $75,000. I've been daily driving this car for the last 4 or 5 days, and I want to talk about what I really love and hate about it. There's also going to be another video comparing this car's driving dynamics versus the 2018 BMW M2. But on to the 5 things I love about the new M2. It should come as probably no surprise that all 5 things I love about this car are related to the driving dynamics. Since the M2 model was first introduced 7 or 8 years ago, it has been the standard for semi-affordable rear-wheel drive BMW thrills. And while I do think that overall ethos has shifted a little bit with this latest generation, a lot of the things that made the original M2 fun are still very much present in this G87. For example, the first thing I love about this car is the powertrain. This is by far the best engine BMW has ever put in an M2. The original M2 came with a fairly run-of-the-mill N55 straight 6, basically a slightly retuned version of the BMW 335i engine back in the day, but ultimately it just didn't feel that special. It wasn't a bespoke M-car engine. BMW solved that with the M2 competition that came out a couple years later, which had the S55 engine, a much more free revving and even more powerful straight 6 with twin turbos that was also found in the F80 generation M3 and M4. The M2 CS, which was the swan song to the F87 generation, had a further tweaked version of that S55. I've driven all 3 models of that M2, and they definitely got progressively better over the years. But even just this new base M2 feels so much more rapid in a straight line, even quicker than that heavily tuned M2 CS. We have the S58 engine taken from the G80 and G82 M3 and M4, so it is a bespoke M-car engine. You won't find an S58 in your run-of-the-mill 3 Series or 4 Series. We have twin turbos, a red line of 7,200 RPM, 453 horsepower, and 406 pound-feet of torque. But in typical modern BMW fashion, those numbers are definitely underrated. This car feels like it produces 500 horsepower. This is a properly rapid car, make no mistake about it. It's got plenty of torque in the mid-range. There is a little bit of turbo lag down low. For example, 3rd gear, 2,000 RPM, foot down. There is some lag until around 3,000 RPM when those twin turbos really spool up. So it's got a great top end, it's got a meaty, torquey mid-range, just a little bit of lag down low, but it's easy to drive around. It is a properly quick machine. And so far, these S58 engines have proven to be pretty reliable. We'll see if that changes over time. So that's the first thing I love. The second thing I love about the M2 is the suspension. The adaptive dampers in this car are such a huge upgrade over the original M2 and M2 competition fixed suspension. It's better for daily driving, comfort mode for the chassis, which is the suspension setting. It glides over bumps. It feels, you know, like a proper luxury car. Whereas that original M2, oh my gosh, it was stiff, it was bouncy, it was even a little bit unsettled. But when you set the suspension into Sport or Sport Plus, it gives you a level of control when you start pushing the car harder that the original M2 is wholly lacking. I've already driven this car in the canyons, and the amount of confidence it gives me because I can just take bumps without lifting off the throttle. I can attack corners with a relatively flat ride and good body control. This suspension overall is definitely a big improvement. The third thing I love about the M2 is this new 10-stage M traction control system. You can turn it fully off and do big skids, but even in 1 out of 10 up to 3 out of 10, this car will still let you drift. but it'll catch you right before you spin out. And we're not going to try that here today, but I did try it when I had this car in the canyons. I had it on 1 out of 10. And it let me get fairly sideways. I love the fact that BMW has designed this system. It gives drivers of all experience levels an opportunity to test the limits of the car and their own driving skill in a safe, controlled environment. And that brings us to the fourth thing I love about the M2, and that is the fact that it offers very close to BMW M4 levels of performance and is arguably a bit more fun to drive at a much lower price point. Like I said, this car with no options starts at around $63,000, whereas a base M4 starts at $75,000. So that $12,000 difference, and what does that get you? Well, the M4 has the same S58 engine with just a slightly more aggressive tune, but overall performance is very close. They're actually close to the same weight. So you could argue that the M2 is a bit of a bargain in the BMW world. And that segues nicely into the fifth and final thing I love about the M2, the weight. That might come as a shocker to some of you all, because obviously lightweight generally equates to fun to drive, driving dynamics, and I'll come to that in a second because the weight of this car is both a pro and a con for me. But the reason I do think it has some benefits is that this generation of M2 is so much more confidence-inspiring as a result of, well, many things, the suspension being one of them, but the weight of this car, I feel, gives me a level of confidence in the driving dynamics, because that weight gives it a level of traction and stability and overall a feeling of sure-footedness. You definitely feel the weight of the car, especially into braking zones, so there are some cons to that weight, but overall it just felt so confidence inspiring. It didn't feel like I was tossing around a lightweight little sports car that could snap at any moment. This M2 at 3,800 plus pounds, it's about 350 pounds heavier than the original M2 and about 200 pounds heavier than the old M2 competition. But when I attack corners in this car, especially when I put my foot down coming out of corners, I feel like that weight gives the car more traction. It makes it feel more planted, more sure-footed. So those are the 5 things I love the most about the M2, and they're all related to the driving dynamics. Now let's talk about the 5 things I really dislike about this car. Number 1, and this should be no surprise to anyone, and that is the way this car looks from the outside. I just cannot get on with the exterior styling of the G87. It's interesting because when the G80 M3 first came out, or at least the first photos were revealed, I absolutely hated how that car looked, especially the front end with its beaver teeth-like kidney grills. But I have to admit, over time, the front end of that car actually grew on me quite a bit, and right now I actually think it looks pretty good. I cannot say the same for this M2. Didn't like it on day one, still don't like it now. I just feel like BMW tried to give it a sort of E30 M3 like boxiness, but there are some key details where it's just not congruent. Like the big gaping square vents on either side of that front bumper, they're just so jarring to me because they're so squared off. They don't really match the overall grille design. But the angle that irks me even more is the rear. The taillights of the car are pushed out all the way to the very left and right edges. The car just has a froggy look, like the eyes are just pointed outward. It's very awkward looking, and every time I see it, whether I'm close up to it or far away, it just doesn't look good to me. I think the side profile of this car is fine, but I definitely prefer the F87 generation M2 from every single angle. I think that car was a home run in styling. Now, the second thing I don't like about the M2 is the fact that there are a few key features that I would expect in most cars to be standard, especially at this price point, that you have to pay extra for with the M2. For example, the active radar cruise control. You have to pay an extra $500 for that feature. My $51,000 Acura Integra Type S has that as standard. I'm just using that as an example to make a point that BMW wants to nickel and dime you. On a similar note, you have to pay $1,100 for the Live Cockpit Pro, which gives you the heads-up display. My Integra has that as standard. A lot of cars have that as standard. in this price point. And I actually personally consider that feature to be a must, because if you notice this gauge cluster, the digital dash, it's so unnatural because you have these boomerang shaped gauges for your speedometer and your tachometer that I just have not gotten used to even after 4 days of driving this car around. Now, obviously you could just read the speed from here, but I just find this overall gauge cluster to be quite distracting and overcomplicated, so I really appreciate that heads-up display. I just wish it wasn't an $1,100 option. On a positive note though, this car does come with some standard driving assists, like the lane departure warning, the blind spot monitor, and the front collision warning. But if you want the active lane keep assist, that costs extra. Now, the third thing I don't like about the M2 is actually related to the driving dynamics. It is the driver inputs. The steering, the shifter, the clutch, and the brakes. All of the driver inputs of this car, I am not a fan of. That might be a bit surprising since I did say that all 5 things I like about this car are related to the driving dynamics, and I stand by that. When I drive this car hard in the canyons, the driver inputs, they're not so bad as to really detract from my enjoyment all that much, but especially when driving this car around town at normal speeds, they do become a bit of a problem. The steering is numb. It is lifeless. Compared to the original M2, it is dead. There is very little feedback through the steering wheel. It has a pretty quick ratio, which is a pro or a con depending on your driving style. But for me, I like steering feedback. I want to know what the front tires are doing. When they're loaded up in the corner, the steering should get heavier. I should be able to feel some of the bumps and imperfections in the road. This steering rack gives me very little of that. Less of a problem when I'm daily driving, but when I'm pushing the car hard in the canyons, I don't get the level of information that I want. Now, what does really bother me in daily driving situations is this shifter and clutch, especially the clutch. It is, I mean, typical BMW clutch feel, or lack thereof. You really don't get a good sense of where that engagement point is, and as a result, it's not that easy to drive this car smoothly from a dead stop. Even shifting from first into second gear, it's not the easiest to release the clutch once you're in second gear with the right timing to avoid that sort of jerkiness. In the higher gears, like third gear and above, really not a problem because the torque is much lower in those gears, but from neutral to first and first to second, I found it definitely a bit trickier than I would like to drive this car smoothly. I haven't stalled it. It's not really that bad. It's just definitely not up to my standards, at least for a modern manual transmission. And the shifter, as I mentioned, is also a con, but that's basically par for the course for any BMW manual made in the past, gosh, 30 plus years. They've all had this distinctive rubbery BMW feel. It's very obvious what gear you're going into, so it's very unlikely that you'll misshift, but just the enjoyment of rowing your own gears with a very mechanical and slick transmission, that's definitely missing in this M2, as it is in every single other BMW manual that I personally have experienced. That said, rev matching downshifts is a cinch. The fourth thing I don't like about this M2 is related to daily driving, and that is the ergonomics. There are a few key aspects of this car that I noticed on a day-to-day basis that really bother me. The first one is the fact that these seat belts are mounted all the way back here. Now, granted, I'm not a very tall person at 5'7", but I would imagine even if you were, say, 5'10", 5'11", you may still have this issue where if your seat is not pushed back super far, every time you get in this car, you have to contort your body to reach this seatbelt all the way back here. Or at the very least, you have to bend your arm all the way back. Probably a common issue for a lot of 2+2 coupes. Because the doors are so long, the seatbelts have to be mounted pretty far back. But if you are shorter, then this could be a minor annoyance on a daily basis. Other things I don't like about the ergonomics: rear headroom is super limited in this car, which is a bit of a surprise given this car is 3,800 pounds. You would think with that extra weight and actually larger physical dimensions compared to the old M2, you would have more headroom, but that's just not the case. That's a bummer if you frequently need to drive people around. The next ergonomic flaw I found with this car, actually that my girlfriend found the other day, is these cup holders here in the front. they're mounted a little bit too far back or away from you, such that if you have a taller drink, like a boba, for example, or a large water bottle, the top may hit this center console area. Perfectly fine for soda cans or smaller coffee cups, but I'll put it this way, it is not a very Bay Area boba friendly cup holder design. And last but not least, in the same vein of ergonomics, I am not a big fan of the latest iDrive 8 system. The touchscreen itself is fantastic, it's super crisp and easy to use and responsive, but this iDrive system, it just baffles me. After 4 to 5 days of driving this car around, I still find myself confused. We have this physical dial down here, which should be pretty intuitive. It does have a back button, which I always like to see. It's something that I'm sure you would get used to over time. All I can say is that in 4 to 5 days, I have not been able to really figure it out. I also find that activating some of the driver assists is way more complicated in this car compared to my Integra Type S. The buttons on the steering wheel just aren't as intuitive. For example, this little menu button here will give you access to change the content on the middle of this digital cluster, as well as the content on the head-up display. But then you would think you should be able to move the position of the head-up display from here, but you can't. That's in some other menu somewhere that I figured out once, but haven't been able to figure out since. And to wrap things up, the fifth and final thing I don't like about the new M2, and that is the weight. I mentioned this was both a pro and a con. There is a downside to that weight, of course, and that is the fact that it just doesn't give the car the same level of nimbleness or playfulness that the old M2 had. Driving these two cars back to back on the same road, I realized that the same sure-footedness that this newer generation has also means it's not as playful as the old one. The old one always wanted to move around in the corners as you drove over bumps. It was a very sort of imperfect driving experience because it was so lively, but that also gave it character. It is not all that easy to get this car sideways, not with the same level of eagerness that the original M2 displayed. Still feels like a rear-wheel drive car, don't get me wrong. At 3,800 plus pounds, this is getting really close to M4 territory, and I just kind of miss that old sort of nimble, more playful character of the original M2. That's what made it an M2. That's what differentiated it compared to something like an M3 or M4. But now, I don't really feel like this M2 has its own unique character, at least not to the same extent as the old one. Does that mean it's a bad car? Absolutely not. And I would say a lightly optioned example at around 64 to 65 grand is a bit of a bargain, to be honest. It's a budget M4. So that sums up the 5 things I love and hate about the new M2. Let me know what you think in the comments. For those of you who have owned this car or have driven it for longer than 4 or 5 days, what are some other things you've noticed about it? Big shout out to BMW for providing this car for review. See you all in the next one.